domed chamber of the Galactic Intelligence Tribunal hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species, murmuring in their native tongues. Holographic displays flickered along the curved walls, projecting streams of data in alien scripts that shimmered like liquid metal. The air carried the sharp tang of ozone from the station's atmospheric processes, mixed with the musk of Vorak warriors and the floral scent of Drassic pheromones. At the center of it all stood Dr. Elias Carter, the lone human representative, his gray jumpsuit stark against the riot of colors and forms around him. His hands remained clasped behind his back, fingers twitching slightly, not from nerves, but from the effort of not reacting to the condescension radiating from the tribunal members. High Arbiter Vexis, a Zelthari whose crystalline body refracted light in hypnotic patterns, rose from the central dais. The prismatic facets of his form shifted to a deep violet, a sign of amusement among his kind. The chamber fell silent as his voice resonated through the air, translated by the implants in Elias' skull. After extensive evaluation, Vexis announced, the Galactic Intelligence Tribunal has reached a unanimous decision regarding the species designation of Homo sapiens. A holographic screen flared to life above the dais, displaying a classification chart. Elias' eyes locked onto the blinking symbol beside humanity's. Name, tier, face Sub-Sapient. The chamber erupted. A Dracic scholar, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with laughter, leaned toward her companion. I told you they wouldn't even make tier. Their neural density is barely above agricultural drones. From the Vorak delegation, a hulking warlord clad in blackened battle armor let out a guttural chuckle. They still use chemical propulsion for orbital insertion, primitive. Elias kept his face neutral, but his mind raced. He had expected this. Earth Command had warned him the tribunal's metrics were skewed, designed to favor species with collective consciousness or quantum-linked neural networks. Humanity's flaws, individuality, adaptability, creativity, were liabilities in their eyes. Your species lacks the cognitive complexity for interstellar diplomacy. Vexis continued, his voice dripping with faux sympathy. The Federation cannot in good conscience grant you full membership until you meet baseline sentient standards. Elias allowed himself a small measured exhale. With respect, High Arbiter, our scientists have already replicated your tier, face species quantum processors. We simply chose not to adopt them. The chamber rippled with derisive clicks and hisses. Ah, yes, sneered a Zelthari adjunct, his facets flashing orange. Contempt, the famous human arrogance. You reject advancement because you cannot comprehend it. A Vorak cadet, his armored plates rattling with suppressed laughter, called out, let's see how well they comprehend a real test. Bring out the lattice. A team of Drassic technicians wheeled in a floating platform, atop which rested a shimmering quantum lattice puzzle, a three-dimensional maze of entangled particles that even adolescent Zelthari could solve in minutes. The tribunal used it as a benchmark for spatial reasoning. Go on, Tyr. The Vorak cadet taunted. Show us your legendary human ingenuity. Elias stepped forward, studying the lattice. He could solve it easily. Earth's intelligence operatives had trained him on far more complex systems. But that wasn't the mission. He reached out, deliberately fumbling his first adjustment. The lattice flickered, its delicate balance disrupted. A second attempt sent particles scattering in chaotic patterns. The chamber erupted in laughter. Pathetic, the Vorak cadet spat. No wonder they're Tyr. Elias bowed his head, playing the part of the humiliated delegate. But beneath the facade, his lips curled in the barest hint of a smile. Let them laugh. Phase Faye was already in motion. The promenade of Zenthis Prime stretched in a glittering arc, its transparent ceiling revealing the swirling nebula beyond. Alien delegates from 100 worlds moved through the space. Their forms as varied as their cultures. Crystalline Zelthari refracting light in hypnotic patterns. Drazics pulsing with soft bioluminescence, hulking Vorak warriors clanking in their battle armor, and among them, Elias Carter walked alone, the gray of his jumpsuit dull against the riot of alien colors. Whispers followed him like a shadow. "Tyr, Faye, can you believe it? They actually thought they could sit with us." A Drazic scholar, tall, willowy, their skin flickering between pale blue and lavender, stumbled as Elias passed. Luminous fluid sloshed from their drinking vessel, splashing across Elias's boots. The liquid shimmered where it landed, eating tiny holes into the fabric. The Dracic's glow flared bright pink amusement. "Oh, so clumsy of me," they said, mandibles clicking. "But then, you wouldn't understand complex containment fields, would you?" Elias looked down at his ruined boots, then back up. He forced a smile. "Guess not." Laughter rippled through the nearby crowd. As Eltharis' prismatic body shifted to a mocking violet. Elias kept walking, his hands loose at his sides, his expression blank. A group of Vorak cadets blocked the path ahead, their armored forms towering over him. Cadet Krazak, his carapace polished to a menacing sheen, held out a small, glowing cube, a quantum lattice puzzle, the kind Vorak hatchlings solved for fun. "Here's soft skin," Krazak rumbled. "Let's see you try. Maybe we were wrong, maybe you're Tyr." "Faye," the other cadets barked laughter, their vocalizers grating. Elias took the cube, turning it over in his hands. The puzzle pulsed with intricate light patterns, shifting in impossible geometries. He frowned, pretending to concentrate. "I don't get it," he admitted after a long moment. Krazak snatched the cube back. "Pathetic. No wonder they're Tyr." "Faye," the cadets shoved past him, knocking him off. Balance. Elias let himself stumble, catching the railing to steady himself. More laughter, more whispers. He exhaled, slow and controlled, and continued down the promenade. At a secluded observation deck, Elias finally stopped. The nebula outside painted the room in shifting hues of crimson and gold. He leaned against the glass, watching the distant lights of docked ships. "Enjoying the view, Tyr." Faye. Elias didn't turn. He knew the voice, High Arbiter Vexis, the Zelthari who had delivered humanity's sentence earlier. "It's beautiful," Elias said simply. Vexis' crystalline form shifted beside him, facets catching the nebula's glow. "Pity your species will never truly appreciate it. Art, science, philosophy. These require a mind capable of more than basic survival." Elias nodded, still staring out the window. "Guess well, just have to keep eating dirt and banging rocks together." Then, Vexis' prisms darkened displeasure. "Your flippancy only proves our point. The tribunal's judgment is final. Accept your place." Elias finally turned, meeting the Arbiter's faceted gaze. "Oh, we accept it for now." Vexis' body flickered, uncertainty bleeding through. Then, with a dismissive shimmer, they turned and glided away. Alone again, Elias reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small, smooth stone, a river pebble from Earth. He rolled it between his fingers, a habit when he needed to think. A shadow moved at the edge of the deck. "You're pushing them," a voice murmured. Elias didn't look up. "They need pushing." The shadow resolved into a figure, human-clad in the same grey jumpsuit, but with eyes that missed nothing. "Agent Mara Voss, section. Phase prepped," she said softly. "But if you tip our hand too soon, I know the playbook, Mara." Elias pocketed the stone. "Let them think we're dumb. Let them get comfortable then." He smiled. "We rewrite the test." Mara studied him, then nodded. "Just don't get yourself killed playing the fool. Wouldn't dream of it." She melted back into the shadows. Elias turned to the window again, watching as a Vorak dreadnought drifted into view, its weapons bristling. He exhaled, slow and steady. The station's artificial night cycle cast dim blue light through the empty corridors. Elias Carter moved like a shadow, his soft-soled boots making no sound against the polished alien metal. He'd memorized every patrol pattern, every blind spot in the Zenthis Prime security grid over the past 3 months. The tribunal thought their systems were impenetrable. They were wrong. A Drassic night guard floated past the intersection ahead, its bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with drowsy yellow. Elias pressed against a service panel, holding his breath. The guard didn't even glance his way. Of course not. Why would they watch for Fey intruders? He reached the restricted comms hub exactly 17 minutes after midnight station time. The door recognized his stolen clearance chip. Another impossible human feat. Inside, the air hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of quantum servers. Alien glyphs danced across curved display panels, their meaning obvious to anyone who'd studied Zelthari programming languages, which, according to tribunal records, no human could comprehend. Elias' fingers flew across the interface, bypassing 17 layers of encryption in under a minute. A soft chime signaled connection. The screen flickered, then resolved into a familiar face, Admiral Lyra Hale, her grey-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun, the Earth and Stars insignia gleaming on her collar. "Report," she said, voice crisp through the scrambled channel. "Phase 1 complete," Elias whispered. They bought it, hook, line, and sinker. A progress bar filled on the secondary display as he routed the transmission through 6 dummy nodes. "Just finalized our backdoor into their defense grid. Their entire fleet tracking system is ours." Hale's lips quirked. "And the tribunal? Still convinced we're barely sentient?" Elias tapped another sequence, pulling up the Galactic Intelligence database. "They've got us logged as limited cognitive capacity, prone to emotional decision-making," he snorted. "Vexis actually patted me on the head yesterday." The Admiral's eyes hardened. "Remember New Sydney?" Elias' jaw tightened. He'd been 12 when the Vorak bombardment started. Watched from a bunker as plasma fire turned his city to glass. The limited cognitive capacity that saved his life that day had been a human engineer jury, rigging the planetary shields with scrap metal. "Phase 2 is ready," Hale continued. "But we need confirmation. Are their core systems vulnerable?" Elias brought up a new schematic, the Zenthis Prime network glowing gold in the holographic display. "Every last one. Their security protocols are cute, like watching a child try to build a fusion reactor out of sticks." He zoomed in on the tribunal chamber's control node. "I could crash their entire grading system with 2 keystrokes." "Do it quietly," Hale ordered. "We want them complacent until the fleet's in position." A warning chime sounded someone approaching the outer corridor. Elias killed the display instantly, his body going still. Through the door's thin membrane, he saw the distorted silhouette of a Zelthari guard. Its crystalline body refracted the hallway lights into prismatic patterns on the walls. The guard paused. Elias didn't breathe. After 3 endless seconds, the alien moved on. He reactivated the screen. Hale hadn't flinched. "They're getting suspicious," he murmured. "Not suspicious enough," Hale said. "Our deep space scouts confirm the Vorak are mobilizing their dreadnoughts. They're planning another demonstration after tomorrow's tribunal session." Elias felt his pulse quicken. He pulled up a star map, overlaying it with Vorak fleet movements. Bloodfang's left dry dock. "They've got her paired with 2 new battlecruisers, Ravager and Iron Maw." His fingers danced across the controls, slicing into the Vorak command network. "Oh, this is beautiful. They're running live fire exercises in the Kelthar belt, testing new targeting systems." Hale leaned forward. "Can we access them?" "Already done." Elias grinned as lines of human-designed code scrolled past. "Their entire fire control matrix is built on our old Mark 7 protocols. Left them wide open when we accidentally failed their puzzle tests." He tapped a final command. "Their backdoor installed. Their missiles won't launch unless we say so." The Admiral exhaled sharply. "God, I love human engineers. Elias glanced at the chrono. I need to move. Next shift change is in 6 minutes. Go, Hale said. And Carter, yeah, try not to enjoy tomorrow too much? Elias smirked as he wiped the console. No promises. The screen went dark just as another patrol passed by outside. He slipped out the service hatch, his mind already racing through the final preparations. The tribunal would convene at dawn, ready to formally ratify humanity's sub-sapient status. They had no idea what was coming. Back in his quarters, Elias activated the hidden compartment beneath his bunk. The sleek black neural interface gleamed in the low light. Human tech, centuries beyond anything the Federation had imagined. He slotted the data crystal from tonight's work into its port, watching as schematics of every major alien warship unfolded in the air above his cot. A soft chime announced an incoming message, Earth Command, encoded with the day's final update. Elias scanned it quickly, then allowed himself a quiet laugh. The USN Retribution had just crossed the border into tribunal space, cloaked and undetected. Silent Hand would arrive within hours. He powered down the display, lying back on the thin alien mattress. Outside his window, Xanthus Prime's orbital rings glittered against the void, their perfect symmetry, a testament to Zelthari engineering. Beautiful, predictable. Elias closed his eyes, smiling. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn what happened when you underestimated human intelligence. And he had the best seat in the house. The chamber lights dimmed as High Arbiter Vexis rose from his crystalline throne. The tribunal delegates leaned forward, their various forms casting jagged shadows across the domed auditorium. Elias Carter remained standing at the center, his hands clasped behind his back, the picture of calm. This session reconvenes to finalize humanity's classification, Vexis announced, his prismatic body pulsing with condescending violet hues. The evidence is overwhelming. Tier Fey designation stands. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Drassic scholars flickered in amusement, their bioluminescence dancing across the walls. The Vorak warlords clanked their armored fists against their chest plates in approval. Then the screens flickered. Every display in the chamber, holographic embedded. Even the personal datapads of the delegates flared to life simultaneously. The emblem of the United Earth Systems Navy burned crimson in the air, followed by a single line of text. Fey transmission incoming priority Alpha Fey, what is this? Vexis demanded, his crystalline form darkening to an angry indigo. Elias didn't answer, he just smiled. The screens split into a dozen feeds, live footage of sleek dagger-shaped warships decloaking just beyond Xanthus Prime's defensive perimeter. The USN Retribution led the formation, its blackened hull swallowing the starlight. Along its flank, the USN's Silent Hand powered up its railgun arrays with a hum that vibrated through the station's sensors. That, Elias said, is Earth saying hello. Chaos erupted. Vorak warlords scrambled for their comms, barking orders to their fleets. The Drassics glow-stuttered in panic. Vexis prisms fractured into jagged, uncertain patterns. Impossible, Cadet Krazak snarled, his claws unsheathing. Our scans detected no signatures. Of course you didn't, Elias said. He tapped his temple. Tyr, remember, we're too dumb to hide from your sensors. Except, he gestured to the screens, where the Retribution's main battery swiveled to lock onto the Vorak Dreadnought Bloodfang. We just did. High Arbiter Vexis whirled on him. This is an act of war. No, Elias corrected. This is a demonstration. The screens shifted again. This time, they displayed something far more damning. The Tribunal's own intelligence archives, now overlaid with Earth's decryption protocols. Files scrolled too fast for most species to follow, but the headers were unmistakable. Fey Human Cognitive Capacity Reassessment, Tier Fey Transcendent, Fey Federation Network, Penetration. Faith A compromised Fei military threat projection. Critical Fey Adrasic Scholar made a sound like a dying reactor. You accessed our systems. Accessed? Elias chuckled. We rewrote them 6 months ago. Your security AIs started reporting false data. Your scans, your comms, even your damn environmental controls. We've been inside everything. The Vorak warlord Gorak slammed a fist onto the tribunal table, cracking the reinforced alloy. You dare mock us with these illusions? Illusions. Elias tilted his head. Admiral Hale, care to clarify? The main screen flickered to the bridge of the Retribution. Admiral Leora Hale leaned forward. Her grin sharp enough to cut Dora Steele. Vorak Dreadnought Bloodfang, you're targeting us. Yes, go ahead, fire. Gorak snarled an order. The Bloodfang's massive plasma cannons charged, and then spasmed wildly as their targeting systems glitched. The weapon swung backward, locking onto the Dreadnought's own engine array. What? Abort! Gorax roared, too late. The Bloodfang's cannons fired. The plasma bolts ripped into its own propulsion systems, sending the massive ship spinning helplessly. Secondary explosions bloomed along its hull as emergency containment fields struggled to contain the damage. Silence. Then Elias cleared his throat. Right, forgot to mention, we also hacked your weapons. Vexis prisms had gone entirely black. How? You graded our intelligence, Elias said, stepping forward. The delegates flinched back as if he were radioactive. But you never stopped to ask why we let you. The screens updated one final time. A live feed from Earth's lunar shipyards appeared, showing hundreds of vessels under construction, warships twice the size of the Retribution, their designs unlike anything in the Federation database. Phase Fey, Elias murmured, almost to himself. Then louder, the Tribunal has two choices. You can acknowledge humanity's true classification, or you can find out what Phase Fey looks like. The chamber was so quiet. The hum of the station's life support seemed deafening. Then, one by one, the delegates' heads bowed. Not in surrender. In shame, the Vorak warlords didn't hesitate. Pride burned hotter than reason in their veins. High Warlord Draxus, his armored carapace gleaming under the station's artificial suns, slammed a clawed fist onto the comm panel. All Vorak vessels, engage. Reduce these insolent mammals to cosmic dust. The Bloodfang, a monstrous dreadnought bristling with plasma lances and gravitic torpedoes, led the charge. A dozen smaller cruisers fanned out behind it, their weapons locking onto the human ships. The USN Retribution and USN Silent Hand. The Vorak targeting systems whirred, crosshairs painting the human vessels in lethal crimson. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Leora Hale leaned back in her chair. She didn't even blink as the Vorak fleet powered up their weapons. They're firing, shouted her tactical officer. Lieutenant Cho. Hale just smiled. Let them. The first volley of plasma bolts streaked across the void, and then twisted in mid-flight. The bolts arced wildly, spiraling back toward the Vorak ships. The Bloodfang's shields flared as its own weapons slammed into it. Chaos erupted across the Vorak fleet. Missiles veered off, course slamming into their sister ships. Targeting systems flickered, then locked on to the wrong coordinates. The Bloodfang's main cannon, primed to obliterate the Retribution, instead discharged straight into the belly of a Vorak cruiser. The explosion lit up the black like a dying star. What in the abyss is happening? Draxus roared, his claws digging into the command console. On the Retribution, Hale watched the carnage unfold with cold amusement. Quantum ECM, she said, as if explaining the weather. Took our boys at RFD 3 years to crack it. Rewrites enemy targeting protocols in real time, makes their weapons reconsider their loyalties. A Vorak destroyer, its systems completely hijacked, spun out of control, and collided with another cruiser. The impact sent both ships careening into the station's defensive shields, triggering a chain reaction of secondary explosions. Draxus II, in command, a scarred veteran named Krazak, bared his fangs. "This is impossible. No species can override our systems." Hale's voice crackled over the open comms, calm and mocking. "You built weapons that obey you. We built weapons that think." The silent hand, silent no longer, unleashed its own payload. Not missiles, not plasma, but something far worse. A swarm of nanite disruptors, tiny and invisible, flooded the Vorak comm channels. Within seconds, every ship in the fleet lost contact with each other. The Bloodfang's navigation systems went dark. Its engines sputtered. "Emergency power," Draxus bellowed. Too late. The Retribution's main railgun hummed to life, its barrel glowing blue. A single tungsten round, accelerated to relativistic speeds, punched straight through the Bloodfang's weakened shields. The impact tore a gaping hole in the dreadnought's hull, atmosphere venting into the void. Draxus stumbled as the deck tilted beneath him. Alarms blared. The ship's AI, now corrupted by human countermeasures, recited a cold, emotionless warning. Critical damage sustained. Reactor breach imminent. All hands abandon ship. Krazak grabbed his warlord's arm. "We have to go," Draxus snarled, but there was no fighting this. The Vorak fleet was in shambles, half their ships disabled, the other half firing on themselves. He activated the emergency beacon, signaling surrender. The human ships didn't even bother to acknowledge it. On the station, the tribunal delegates watched in stunned silence. The Zeltharis crystalline bodies flickered with distress. The Drassic's bioluminescence dimmed to near darkness. Vexis, the High Arbiter, clutched the edge of his podium, his prismatic form shifting erratically between colors. No Zelthari had ever displayed before. Shame. Elias Carter, still standing in the center of the chamber, folded his arms. "You were saying something about Tyr, Fein Intelligence." Outside, the Bloodfang's reactor went critical. The explosion lit up the observation deck like a second sun, casting long shadows over the tribunal's defeated faces. Hale's voice came through the stations, speakers one last time, dripping with sarcasm. "Hope you enjoyed the demonstration. Next time, maybe ask before you test us." The comms cut out. The human ships didn't move, they didn't need to. The message was clear. The Vorak had brought a war fleet. Humanity had brought a lesson. The chamber fell into stunned silence. High Arbiter Vexis' crystalline form flickered between colors, first violet, then crimson, then an unstable gray no Zelthari had ever displayed in public. His voice crackled like breaking glass. This is impossible." Elias Carter stood at the center of the tribunal floor, arms crossed. Around him, the other delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Drassic scholars' bioluminescence pulsed erratically, their tendrils twitching. The Vorak warlord's armored plating rattled, not in threat, but in something far worse. Fear. "You didn't even encrypt your systems," Elias said, shaking his head. "We've been inside your networks for months, watching, learning, waiting." He tapped his wristpad, and the holographic displays above the tribunals, dace flickered again. This time, they showed Earth's war games, fleets moving in perfect fractal patterns, ships executing maneuvers that defied known physics. "You graded us Tyr, Faye. We've been solving problems you haven't even conceived of yet." Cadet Krazak, his armored claws still smoking from his failed attempt to override the station's lockdown, snarled, "This is treachery. The Vorak Empire will what?" Elias cut him off. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Your dreadnoughts are drifting. Your weapons are offline, and your glorious Bloodfang." He nodded to the main view screen, where the crippled Vorak flagship spun lazily, its own missiles having torn through its engines. It's currently being towed by a human tugboat. A tugboat, Krazak. The Vorak cadet's mandibles clicked furiously, but no words came out. High Arbiter Vexis finally managed to stabilize his form, though his edges remained jagged. The tribunal acknowledges its error. The admission seemed to physically pain him. Humanity's intelligence rating will be revised. Elias laughed. It wasn't a cruel sound, but it wasn't kind either. Revised? No, Vexis. You don't get to revise anything. He strode forward, the alien delegates parting before him like grass before a wildfire. You built an entire system to measure species by your standards. But here is the thing about standards. He reached the dais and placed one hand on the tribunal's central console. They're only as good as the minds that made them. With a tap, the holograms shifted again. This time, they displayed the tribunal's own classified files, every flawed assumption, every biased assessment, every mistake the Federation had ever made in judging other species. The room erupted in horrified whispers. You graded us, Elias said, his voice cutting through the chaos. Let me show you how we grade you. Another tap, the screens filled with rapid fire data, alien technologies dissected, military strategies analyzed, political systems deconstructed. Each one tagged with a human assessment, predictable, inefficient, obsolete. The Jurassic scholar who'd spilled fluid on Elias' boots earlier shrank back, his glow dimming to near invisibility. You understood everything. Of course we did. Elias shrugged. You weren't exactly subtle. The Vorak rely too much on brute force. The Zelthari overcomplicate their tech. The Jurassics. He glanced at the cowering scholar. You're so convinced of your own brilliance, you never stop to check if someone's watching. High Arbiter Vexis' form darkened. What do you want, Carter? Elias smiled. Recognition, a seat at the table, and he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, unassuming device. When he placed it on the tribunal's console, every alien in the room flinched. An apology. The device activated, projecting Earth's emblem above the dais, a blue marble wrapped in olive branches, and a single stark line of text, Galactic Re-Education Initiative. You wanted to test us? Elias said, stepping back. Now it's your turn. The chamber doors hissed open. Human operatives in black tactical suits filed in, taking positions along the walls. Their presence wasn't threatening, just inevitable. Director Carter, no longer just Elias, no longer just a man in a grey jumpsuit, adjusted his collar. Welcome to Tier, Fey delegates. Try to keep up. The chamber was silent. Not the quiet of contemplation, but the stunned hush of a predator realizing it had stepped into a trap. The holographic displays still flickered with Earth's war games, patterns so advanced the tribunal's finest minds couldn't decipher them. High Arbiter Vexis' crystalline form had dulled to a murky grey, his prisms refusing to refract light. The Jurassic's bioluminescence flickered like dying embers. Even the Vorak warlords stood motionless, their armored plating clamped tight in what humans would recognize as shame. Elias Carter didn't smile, he didn't gloat. He simply walked to the center of the chamber, his boots clicking against the polished floor. The sound echoed like a hammer striking an anvil. Behind him, the doors hissed open. A dozen figures strode in, humans, but not the meek delegates the tribunal remembered. These wore black tactical suits, the fabric threaded with nanofiber that absorbed light, making them seem like shadows given form. Their insignia glowed faintly, a stylized Earth encircled by 9 stars section. Faye, one of them, a woman with sharp features and eyes like flint, stepped forward. Director Mara Voss. She didn't bother with the tribunal's formal greetings. The Galactic Federation has a problem, she said, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. You assumed intelligence was a static metric, a number to be stamped on a species like livestock. She tapped a command into her wrist display. The holograms shifted, showing the wreckage of the Bloodfang, its hull still sparking from its own missiles. Your metrics failed. Vexis finally found his voice. This is an outrage. You deceived us. Elias chuckled. No, you deceived yourselves. He nodded to Voss. She flicked her fingers. A new hologram bloomed above them, a star map, but not one the tribunal recognized. The Re-Education Initiative, she announced. Effective immediately. All member species will undergo reassessment. Human standards. The chamber erupted. Vorak claws unsheathed. Drazics flared bright with outrage. Zelthari prisms flashed violent red, but the humans didn't flinch. Then the lights died. For 3 heartbeats, the chamber was plunged into darkness. When the illumination returned, the holograms had changed again. This time, they showed the orbital defenses of Zenthis Prime. Every turret, every shield generator, every missile battery, all locked onto the tribunal chamber itself. A single line of text scrolled beneath the image. Systems override, USN retribution. Admiral Leora Hale's voice crackled over the comms. Try anything fun, and we'll see how your intelligence grades under pressure. The Vorak warlord Krazak snarled, but his sub-commander gripped his arm. Sir, our fleet's targeting systems are still compromised. They're in our networks. Elias stepped forward, picking up the tribunal's discarded data slate. With a tap, he pulled up humanity's old file, Tier C Sub-Sapient. He deleted it. In its place, he typed a single line tier, Fey Transcendent. Then he dropped the slate. It clattered against the floor, the sound impossibly loud. Director Voss didn't wait for a response. She turned to her team. Prep the first exam. Well, start with quantum lattice theory. Her lips quirked. Since the Vorak cadets seem so fond of it, Krazak's claws flexed, but he didn't move. None of them did. Elias walked to the door, pausing just long enough to glance back. Oh, and Arbiter Vexis. The Zeltharis prisms twitched. Next time, Elias smiled. Grade your own stupidity first. The doors sealed behind him. Outside, the station's observation deck offered a perfect view of the Retribution and Silent Hand, their sleek hulls gliding past like silent predators. Elias exhaled, long and slow. His comm buzzed. Phase complete, Voss said. The Council's already receiving demands for emergency sessions. Half of them are screaming about violations of sovereignty. Elias smirked. And the other half, offering unconditional surrender. He leaned against the railing, watching as Earth's fleet took up positions around Zenthis Prime. Tell the Admiral to stand by. This is just the first test. Far below, the planet's surface glittered with cities, outposts, billions of lives suddenly aware that the galaxy's rules had changed. Humanity wasn't just playing the game now, they'd rewritten it.